and meditated on the first famous way to generate bodhicitta, which is the 6 causes and 1 effect method of Asanga. Seeing equanimity, recognizing beings as mothers, remembering their kindness, wishing to repay their kindness, practicing loving kindness, great compassion, the supreme thought, all triggering the experience of the decision to become a Buddha. And then the next major way today that we'll do is Tonglen, exchanging self and others, this kind of concept of turning things around. Okay, so the way we can do this is first meditate for a few minutes. We can do a shorter meditation now than last time. Maybe I'll set the timer here for 10 minutes. Okay. Wonderful. Meditate with you. Now we'll meditate on Tonglen, giving and taking. You've all, I'm sure, done this before, but it's good to train deeper. It's the main way to develop compassion in Buddhism. So we'll go through stages. The first stage will be touching into your Buddha nature, the space of your mind that is beyond all delusion, like the sky, blue sky with sun, something like that. And then after that, we'll pick a person to put before us in our meditation. You can do it in real life, or you can do it here. We can just visualize if you like. It is picking a person and contemplating their suffering. You know, so we did this one a year ago in the other place in North,
Yes.
that way, up the beach. And it's really powerful. It's a way to practice. So we can just do it personally here today, though. We don't have to break into pairs like we did at the group, but the concept is paying attention to someone's suffering and not getting distracted. And that's not easy. You know, it takes a certain amount of love, a certain amount of dedication to be able to do that. So we train in that every day on the meditation cushion. We imagine that another's suffering, what they're going through, how their day has been, what their financial, emotional, relationship problems are, things like that. And then we go through that. That's the second phase. I've gotten so used to living my life with those sounds. It's good. That's the second phase. And then the third phase is developing a texture. So an unwanted texture, like black smoke or green toxic waste, something like that. Whatever is the most unwanted possible thing in your life, then you visualize that texture. And that's going to be what you're going to breathe in. From that person who you're visualizing in front of you, you're going to breathe that into your heart. So at our heart, we had this sky, this Buddha nature, but covering that is like clouds that are forming into thunderstorms and rocks and lightning. And so there's an ego that's like in the way of our purity. So we're going to use others' suffering to destroy the ego that's in the way of our Buddha nature. That's the path. And so this is going to be very, very good. And so finally you take the suffering of the suffering being upon yourself, take it into your lap, and then you give back all the good things to that being. So this black thick smoke or green toxic waste coming into your heart center, destroy it. So this is a good thing here, because all of Tibetan Buddhism is leading to this point in your body, this place, where the extremely subtle mind and extremely subtle body live. And so we go from the gross body to the subtle body to this, extremely subtle body. That's a prana. It's a wind that sits here. And then we go from the gross mind, just thinking and obsessing, to the subtle mind, the senses, and then to the extremely subtle mind, the clear light. And that also sits here. So all of Buddhist practice is trying to get to this point in the body. But to do so, you have to do yoga and unlock the various other parts of the body. And the only way for those to be directed in the correct direction is compassion. So it has to have the moisten, the warmth of compassion for it to operate. So we're trying to move the tension in our clouds at the heart through the practice of compassion. So when you inhale, you take the pain of whoever you're thinking about directly into the center of your heart and bashes away the negativity. And then on the exhale, you breathe out all the love, all the friendship, all the compassion, all the food, all the teachings, all the dance, all the music, whatever is needed for that person to feel loved and cared for. And so you give that back to them. So you do that for a while. And then finally when you're done, you go to 360 degrees breathing into the heart center, taking on suffering from not just one person, but the whole planet, everyone in Miami, United States, everywhere, breathing in 360 degrees into the heart center and breaking the ego, and then exhaling out 360 degrees, all the good things. So we're going to be expanding our awareness of compassion in this exercise. Many teachings inside of that meditation. One is that your nature is indestructible. No matter if you take all the suffering of the world upon yourself, it's still going to be the Buddha nature. Two is that anywhere you are, anytime, you can practice this technique and just, instead of looking at someone badly or upset, you just breathe on your inhale, because you always have to breathe. So instead of that breath just being ordinary to keep you alive, it becomes the cause of your enlightenment, because bodhicitta is the cause of enlightenment. So great masters are always doing this whenever they're hanging out. They're just taking on the suffering of others and giving out compassion, because they're not afraid that it's going to weigh them down, because they know that their nature is emptiness, is Buddha nature, free of those stains. So it's important to have that, so you don't get like hunched over and feel afraid in life by this practice. I heard this horrible thing from Carl today at the Buddhist Center, where he said that you take everyone's misery and make it black smoke and just put it into your heart. So, and have to have the right understanding of why we would do such a crazy thing. Yeah, so we've talked about those two things, the generation of compassion through the kindness of the mother, and then exchange of self. So that's waking up this spirit of bodhicitta. Then you practice what's known as the 6 perfections. That's the path of a bodhisattva, or an awakened warrior. So that's how you do it. You meditate on bodhicitta, and then you act according to these things. Generosity, I'll list them. Generosity, ethics, patience, joy, meditation, and wisdom. But they have some beautiful things within them. So for example, in generosity, what are you giving away? Maybe you've seen these teachings before, but doesn't mean just blindly giving away anything to anyone. It means generosity of dharma, generosity of material, generosity of fearlessness. So when beings are scared and crying, you hold them. When beings are hungry, you feed them a beautiful lunch of gluten-free pasta. Generosity of food. And then generosity of dharma. That's a teaching. Giving others this teaching. Not pushing religion on them, but if people are open, sharing your experiences. Like we discussed a week ago or 2 days ago in class here. I don't remember. But this question came up about how do we help people in our lives without bullying them or pushing them around. And also without feeling too passive. We need to be more like Rabina and just speak our mind. So generosity of dharma is like that, teaching, guiding others, sharing these things, sharing meditation, sharing insights that are working for you. That's a generosity. First, paramita, and these are all paramitas, perfections that take you across to the other shore. So we're trying to get, let's say, to Cuba from here. And Cuba, let's say that Cuba is enlightenment. You're trying to go, you need a raft, as Alex mentioned, something to take you there. You won't be attached, but you need something to get from here to there. And so for us, what takes us across to the other shore is the perfections. The perfection of generosity, the perfection of ethics, patience, concentration, wisdom, those things. That's what takes you across to the shore. So my gurus, when I spend time with them, it's spontaneous. They're not thinking about how to help other people. It's not really on their mind. They're just doing it. So they've left the books behind. They've left the raft behind, and they're just on the island. They're in Cuba, and they're helping. So that's a little political right now. I don't know if it's the best example, but the concept is why are these, because we have generosity, like I said last class, but why is it perfection? It's because of the bodhicitta. The spirit of your decision to become a Buddha is what makes these acts transcendent, what makes these acts go somewhere else. Everybody's kind in different ways, but why is Lama Zopa's kindness take him to that place and ours take us very short? And the concept is this, the mind behind it, that does the action is bodhicitta. So then that perfection of generosity, because it's based on love and compassion in the utmost, takes you to another place. So there's generation, and then there's the perfection of discipline, or ethics. This is a huge part of Tibetan Buddhism, where you get happiness from practicing ethics, but here with compassion and bodhicitta behind it, you do it for others. I think I mentioned the Bodhisattva vow before last time, which is this radical thing of endlessly dedicating yourself to all beings. So because of compassion, you perfect that. Ethics. Next one is, I'm just going quickly through these because I'm excited for your exam. The next one is giving material things. So this is Yangtze Rinpoche says, who do you give material things to? In the perfection of generosity. I'm going back here, but I just think this is interesting. Friends and relatives who benefited you, enemies who harmed you, strangers, people living in pure ethics, people not living in pure ethics, people have fewer realizations than you, people have realization equal, people have more realization than you, people who are richer than you, people who are living in poverty. Everybody. I remember walking around in Rinpoche and there was, this homeless man who was clearly addicted to heroin. And we were all walking together, and then there was this moment, Rinpoche, what should we do? He said, you just give. Just give. Whatever you have, just give it with your motivation and compassion, just give it. It was an interesting moment there, because he's like saying, well, we don't really know what anyone's going to do or not do, but there's a lot of excuses not to give in our life. Our heart is more closed than open, so it's like, if you have to make a choice, go with the open choice. So he speaks that way a lot, just giving, and giving is one of the main practices. You do offerings also, is like practicing dharma and generosity is ethic, is an offering. Water bowls, light, incense. It's like you're giving and giving and giving, and you can do it, make it a perfection by giving on behalf of all sentient beings with compassion. So when I make this water bowl on the shrine right now, it's for every living being who is suffering, that they may accumulate positive energy by this bowl of water being offered to all the Buddhas. So just one bowl of water, you can accumulate incredible amounts of power and compassion if you know how to meditate on the ritual of offering. And it could just be water, but it's not just water. It becomes transcendent into something, accumulating power for yourself and others. Spiritual power. Patience, so that was ethics, and what is it? Generosity we talked a little bit about. Let's see. So one thing about the ethics is like you do whatever it takes to help other beings, whether it's Buddhist or not, in a lot of ways. So this is a powerful teaching. This is saying that compassion transcends everything in Buddhism. So if you can do something that's going to help others and reach out to them, even if it breaks an earlier vow, that's okay, if it's based on compassion. If it's not based on compassion, you break the vow, it's trouble. So it's just saying compassion is the thing that transcends all in Buddhism. So the Dalai Lama breaks lots of little rules all the time when he, hugs people, when he wears hats, when he does things. There's all these tiny vows of monks' ethics that are like, you're not really supposed to do this and that, but he breaks through them because compassion is more important. So if you have a chance to, the Bodhisattva's ethics on this stage here is, if you have a chance to help others and you don't, then you're breaking a vow. If you don't slap somebody who needs to be slapped, you break a vow. If you don't yell at somebody who needs to be yelled at, you break a vow. Like that, so it's Rabina's amazing, teacher. She lives this one really fully because it's quite vulnerable. It's quite vulnerable sometimes to get out there and do what needs to be done. And so I don't work like that at all. Yangtze Rinpoche and I are nothing like Rabina, obviously. Our personalities are totally different. But what we do is we work with students in a disciplined way when they ask us to be their teacher, and then it gets like that. So Yangtze Rinpoche is like a loving, kind teddy bear to everyone. Then I became his disciple. Things changed. Then he starts to kind of give me things that I feel are a burden that I have to do and stuff, and he'll start to point out limitation more directly, and I'm like, what happened? We had this honeymoon period, we fell in love, we're having wine. Now we're in divorce court, what's happening? No, but it was like something like that, we go through cycles with the teacher too. So he and I work like that, basically emanating gentleness as a sign of realization. As gentleness is how he taught me to manifest, But I wasn't like that when I met him. I was much more like a Viking when I met Yangtze Rinpoche. I was still young and, everything going crazy, party all the time, drinking like a Norwegian. We have this like really intense liquor. There's no English word for it, akavit. But it's kind of like a vodka from Norway or something. So I was drinking that a lot when I met him. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, everyone in my family does this. What do you mean? He's like, cut it out. It's something like that where it was like, I was like very aggressive and then he's trying to like tame me so that I could become gentle one day. But then there comes this thing where you sometimes you have to help students by really getting involved in their business. The business of their business, So Yangtze Rinpoche and I have this sort of boundary where like that's like for very devoted students who like take you as their teacher or something like that. We don't really like, and then we invite Rabina to teach in Portland at Maitripa, and she can do the general one for us because we feel shy. She can just give the wrath out generally. When she comes to Portland, everyone is like, what? Because it's Yangtze Rinpoche and I, we teach every week. And then she comes, and they're like, who is this person? And they're like, well, she is teaching you what we're afraid to teach. So you should be grateful that she came here, because I think you're getting too buddy-buddy with Rinpoche and I. Because we'll just, everybody will be at my house from the school, everybody will be at Rinpoche's house, we'll all just be singing and eating dumplings together. So it's so casual. Rinpoche doesn't like to be formal at all. But anyway, this one, ethics of Bodhisattva, is when you need to really reach out and do, you should do. If you can see it, like a mother, if she needs to do something for her child, she has to do it. You can't hold back. But it's based on compassion, and it's based on renunciation, refuge. And it's not just suddenly you join Buddhism and now you're telling everybody what to do. So, I prefer this style, like for myself, and because Rinpoche said I had to behave like this. I prefer this style. I've learned to prefer it because it's kind of like you can say a lot by being gentle. Also, like if, because when Rinpoche turns on me, then I really know. When he switches that little slight wrath on, then I know that I'm off base. Because he's not somebody who's always out there doing that, so it's not just his personality and his style of teaching, it's not his style. So when he does it, I really hear it. So that's good. I try to teach like that as much as I can. Because he used to pull me aside. When he made me a teacher in 2006 at Maitripa. So I taught, 3 times a week for months beginning then, and he was watching me, and students will report what I'm doing to him, and it was excruciating. We live in the same town, my teacher is in the same building, and they're going to tell him how I'm doing, and he tells them all that. Hey everyone, just tell me how Carl is doing. So he'll get lots of complaints about my style. And he'll be like, what are you telling them? What are you doing? Have you ever read the Lam Rim? What are you doing? So he'll get on my case a little bit, and I'll feel very shy and self-conscious, like, oh, that's terrible. My teacher's criticizing me, but he was trying to make me more gentle, because he thought I was too Viking still, still too shaky. And so I guess I'm bringing this up because enlightenment can manifest in 5 major styles, and those styles are different personality types. Kind of, and they're, you purify them through the practice of the 35 Buddhas. You purify the negative aspect of those 5. There's a blue color line, a white color line, a red color. There's 5 families, and that's a little bit what we're talking about. Your enlightenment can express itself uniquely to your karma. So Yangtze Rinpoche will never behave like Rabina. It's never going to be like that. She'll never be like him, and that's beautiful. That's like we all have these enlightened expressions. So we're just working around eliminating our delusions. We're not saying we're going to suddenly become someone completely different, but you can take out the things that prevent you from helping others through practice. And I've seen that in my own life. Gradually I've started to grow up and relax over 15 years. So I see now that, it's possible to change, is possible. It takes a long time, but I do feel more gentle now than I was in the old days. So I think that's a good sign. So then the next one is patience. That's kind of, part and parcel of what we're just saying. The patience of not retaliating. That's very difficult, but we understand that. Not quickly judging. The next one is the patience of willingly taking on suffering, like we just did in our meditation. And then patience enduring hardship in Dharma practice. Now this is a big one in our culture, because everything is supposed to feel good, but this doesn't feel good a lot of the time. Back hurts, mind is spinning, emotions are all over the place, could be doing other things. So the patience to bear hardships is a big one. Lama Zopa Rinpoche is a big teacher of that. You know, whoever bears hardships is whoever will achieve realization, because it's not going to be easy. And then the last three are enthusiastic perseverance. So that's difficult. We often come to a place where we don't have the enthusiasm to practice. Yeah, and the last two we speak of commonly. The last two perfections are the perfection of meditation and the perfection of wisdom, prajnaparamita. So I'll just give a quick summary of the path, and then we'll move 2 cushions here and we'll start having questions for the students with each other. But
I missed the last two, perfection of...
no, I said it quickly. Meditation and wisdom. The perfection of meditation and the perfection of wisdom. Prajnaparamita is the perfection of wisdom. So you go generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiasm, meditation, and wisdom. So at this stage in the Bodhisattva's path, they're doing the 9 levels of calm abiding and really trying to achieve stability and pliancy in the meditation. And then they use that in the last perfection of wisdom to analyze in emptiness. Okay. That is the perfection of wisdom. Exactly. So you're going to bring analysis on top of that very stable mind. So, Tibetan Buddhist path in our lineage, it starts with the Lam Rim, and you meditate on the Guru. Then you meditate on the preciousness of life, impermanence, suffering, refuge, nirvana. So there you're meditating in 12 links. There you're meditating on the small and medium scopes. And today what we've been doing is bodhicitta, the great scope. You do the exchange of self and others, you do the generating of the cause and effect of remembering mothers and how much mothers sacrifice for children, remembering how much, our mother sacrificed in developing compassion, that whole thing, bodhicitta. And then comes the 6 perfections. Once you wake up the spirit of remembering mother's kindness and wanting to repay all beings, and you practice generosity, ethics, patience, joys, perseverance, enthusiasm, and then meditation and wisdom. You practice those ways, and you work with your teachers, and they help you expand your heart larger all the time. Open your heart larger by doing offerings, by giving generosity, by, you relate to a practice that you can relate to. Do what you can relate to that makes it real for you, and slowly expand your heart. And then after a certain time has passed and you've gone through enough preparation and you've laid the groundwork, then you invite Yangtze Rinpoche to Miami, and he gives the initiation. And then you begin the practice of Vajrayana. And the practice of Vajrayana has 2 stages, the generation stage and the completion stage. And so it's a whole labyrinth ocean where you need it. It's like crossing from Miami to Africa on a ship to practice Vajrayana. So you need a very good captain.